Hello, everybody. This is Martha Alter Hines with Living the One Light. So welcome. I am back after a little bit of a vacation to be with my kids, well, to focus on my kids. And I'm feeling really deeply rested and refreshed. So good to connect with you all again in this way. And in this video, I am actually really looking forward to diving into a topic that is kind of a big overarching topic, and I will probably weave in some astrology into this, but it's more of I'm feeling really called to speak to some themes in general that are particularly alive for me in my praying, and certainly tie into the current astrology, and I will explain that in a second. But more than anything, I'm wanting this to be a, a time where we can drop in and take this slowly and really have this be more than anything. Certainly I'll be using words, but I'm feeling it more wanting to come through as energy. And so I'm wanting to just take my time to weave into some of these big themes and these big opportunities that I'm feeling really alive right now. So the biggest overarching theme that I'm really being called into is this notion of the ultimate divine blueprint of everything, of ourselves, of existence, and actually also of astrology. So that's something I haven't, that's a pretty recent, like this has clicked for me just in the last probably couple of weeks, that a big part of what I'm being asked to hold space for in the coming year and beyond, with all of you who feel called to be doing this work with me or in your own way, is actually not only about holding space for ourselves to be coming into our ultimate divine blueprint, and I will drop into what do I mean by that in a second, but actually as we then move into our own beings in this ultimate divine structure that is ourselves, then of course our perception and our way of relating to everything changes. And that includes astrology. So I want to speak about all of that. And like I said, more than anything, I really want to take the time and let this be an energetic transmission more than even the words I'm using. So that's always true for me, but I'm feeling the need for for whatever reason to name that. And I'm feeling, maybe because I've just had this time off, and also because the weather here in Santa Barbara, California is unbelievably gorgeous. I'm feeling very, I guess you could say it's not that I've been sunbathing at all. I don't do that, but I'm feeling very filled with sunlight, and the fresh air, the ocean air here is just wow. Um, so while I was more focused on my kids and didn't have space to do this, I recorded a couple of videos that a lot of you have already seen, where I was in a couple of my favorite spots in nature here where I live. And if you're interested, I will take more time to be in some of those spots. My favorite months here happen to be February and March, but January also was pretty incredible, and actually April too. So there are some spots that I would love to just be with you at and show you, and um, maybe channel some guided meditations that want to come through in those places for you. So if any of that interests you, let me know, and I would really enjoy doing that if that's something you want. So anyway, back to my point. Yeah, I think because I don't know, I'm just feeling particularly good, and I feel like I have the time and the space. I'm more conscious of the reality that what I'm wanting to convey is through energetics, even more than my words. So I'm just naming that for you. Okay, but to use the human words. So what I'm feeling more and more and more and more, and I've talked about this in previous videos too, is that this time, in particular this year, 2024, but I feel the energetics of, the future also supporting us in this. The astrology, the energetics of 2024 are, among other things, really supporting us to be continuing to let go of our conditioned structures, our conditioned ways of being, our previous ways of knowing ourselves, in karma, in patterning, in social shoulds, all of the above, and kind of soul level agreements, contracts, that kind of thing. Number one, letting that go. And then as we're letting that go, then we're also being held to come into, okay, if we're letting that go, then what? So the then what is, on the ultimate level, we have this opportunity to come into ourselves as our ultimate divine blueprint, literally. And I'll say more about this toward the end of the video, but for those of you who are interested in doing that in a guided, grounded, safe, held container, one of the two main things I'm holding in 2024 is the Ultimate Divine Blueprint series. 12 months. It's a 12-month guided series where we're going to meet twice a month, and the first time we gather in the month is going to be a channeled guided experience, and then we'll have an optional 2 weeks later, we'll have an optional sharing circle in each month. So basically there'll be a total of 12 channeled guided experiences and a total of 12 sharing circles. And that starts next Friday, January 19th, which happens to be, I didn't realize this when I scheduled it, happens to be the day before your Pluto is entering Aquarius. Interesting. Okay, I'll come back to that more at the end if you're interested in that. So yes, so we're being held to come into this ultimate divine blueprint of our energy body, of our energy being, and this feels certainly to me very related to the notion of us coming into our crystalline light beings. But even beyond that, it feels very much related to ourselves making the shift. A lot of people talk about us becoming homo luminous ones, like beings of light, humans who are of light, of the light. So I'm channeling a series of books called Living the One Light, which is ultimately about our journey of becoming, re-becoming ourselves as beings of light and earth and cosmos all at the same time. And so certainly I get it. I know that there is this call for us to becoming these homo luminous ones, although those aren't my words. That's words that other people use, like Heather Ensworth and other people like that. Pam Gregory uses those words as well. But it's, when I first heard people talking about homo luminous ones, I thought, wow, that's really interesting, considering I'm channeling a series of books called Living the One Light, which is all about us being the beings of light that we are. And those books are channeled, right? So it's not me coming up with it, it's coming through me. And they're books that are essentially a remembering of who we are. So interesting. Anyway, so this ultimate, we're being held again in this space to be coming into this ultimate highest divine blueprint that is our energy body, our energy being. But a really, really key component in doing that is the unhooking and the letting go of what is not of that. And so, that's just an ongoing experience. I'm guessing you maybe are experiencing or feeling that yourself. That's something that we've been in that part of this journey astrologically for many years, but especially since 2019, 2020. Those pretty intensely, those energies. But the energies, the astrological energy of 2024 still have that. We still, for example, have Pluto going in and out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. And this new moon coming up actually this Thursday, the January 11th, which I made a separate video on, you can go see, is going to be a new moon in Capricorn, pretty close, well, conjunct-ish, but conjunct Pluto, which will be on almost in Aquarius, so close to Aquarius, but still in Capricorn. And that new moon is squaring the nodes of the moon. So, for example, that new moon is still so powerfully about helping us to unhook and let go of the past structures. And then January 20th, we have Pluto going into Aquarius. And then we're moving, our next new moon is actually in Aquarius. So this is a really interesting couple of months and a couple of these two lunar cycles are really interesting, where we, on January 11th, start a lunar cycle in Capricorn with the moon conjunct Pluto, squaring the nodes of the moon, so powerfully about unhooking, letting go of the past. Then we have that whole lunar cycle that is, starts in that with the new moon in Capricorn, and that lunar cycle concludes with a new moon in Aquarius, I think at 19 degrees of Aquarius, with Pluto by then being at 0 degrees of Aquarius. So Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. And Uranus and Aquarius are very much related to the intelligence of the divine, which absolutely I associate with the ultimate divine blueprint of everything. The intelligence of the divine, ultimate divine blueprint, same basic idea. Although Aquarius also traditionally is ruled by Saturn, which has to do with structure. And we have Saturn currently in Pisces. So we're being held in so many different ways to be, number one, letting go of the old structures and coming into our ultimate divine blueprint with the structures of Pisces, the divine. Can I get where I'm going with that? So I'm just going to sit with that for a second and let it sink in and feel into what is wanting to come next. Yeah, so what the spirit world is saying to me and wanting me to convey is that there is always an ultimate divine blueprint of everything. That just is what source is, right? That's what life is on the ultimate level. And here on Earth, we've gotten out of sync with our ultimate divine blueprint. So in a sense, all of the ways we have been or lived, in a sense, has been perfect. Like, in a sense, has been exactly whatever it was meant to be, perhaps. And yet, regardless of whether we want to judge that, previous ways of being were helpful or not helpful, that's just a separate question, but I don't feel that it's really that helpful to go there at the moment. So regardless, in each and every moment, there is an ultimate divine truth, and there's an ultimate divine blueprint to reality and to what we are meant to be in every moment. So actually, I can kind of dive into this. I give you a little bit of an analogy if this is helpful, and if it's not, just let this go. But a really great way to think of this is the contrast between what I think of as Saturn and Uranus, or Capricorn and Aquarius. So none of these energies are good or bad, right? They just are what they are. Like apples and oranges aren't better or worse. They are what they are, and they serve their own purpose. So, and they all have beautiful gifts. Saturn has incredibly beautiful gifts. It's wisdom. It's, ourselves as these ultimate wise beings. And then Uranus is the intelligence of the divine. I mean, that's pretty incredibly big gift, right? So there's not good or bad here. It's all good, if anything. And then it needs to be in balance. So one thing that is the way I think of the difference between Saturn, Capricorn, and Uranus, Aquarius, is that we need structure here on planet Earth. We need our bodies, we need our bones, our being, the structure of our body and our society. If there were, anarchy, that doesn't work so well typically. So Saturn energy is kind of like if you imagine dominoes. The Saturn energy is what will arrange those dominoes in a particular pattern. And to have the ability to structure those dominoes in a particular way is a really important gift. Otherwise, you would just have them constantly flown all over the place, which might be what you want sometimes, because that's a particular pattern, and maybe you want chaos. Chaos isn't in and of itself bad, but sometimes maybe it serves a divine purpose to have the dominoes structured in a particular way. So that's Saturn energy. And then Uranian energy will come along and say, interesting, and knock it all down. Not always, but it might say, okay, cool. And I am the intelligence of the divine. And in this moment, so that Saturn structure served a purpose in that moment. But in every moment, there's constant change, right? When we are on this planet Earth, we are constantly rotating, we're constantly moving around the sun. The sun itself and our entire solar system are constantly moving around our galactic center. And then our whole galaxy is constantly moving through space. And then that whole set of things is constantly moving through space. So we are in perpetual motion, literally all the time. On a subatomic particle level, I don't think anything is static, just staying as it always is. The one and only thing I would say that is maybe the same is source itself. That source just is source. So in that place, like when I'm taken into the void outside of the time-space continuum, there I do actually feel complete stillness. So I wouldn't say that stillness doesn't exist from my perspective. But in the time-space continuum, we're pretty much constantly in motion of some kind, right? So Uranian energy is like a reminder that yes, that Saturnian structure serves a purpose, is really helpful. But in every single moment, we need to be flexible. We need to be really in tune with. We need to be holding lightly whatever that structure happens to be, and we need to let it be infused by and held by the ultimate reality, the ultimate divine blueprint of the moment, the ultimate divine intelligence of whatever happens to be true on the ultimate divine level for us as a being, for our world, as the structures of our world, our society, for whatever, for all of everything. Everything needs to be held in a way where those dominoes can arrange themselves in concert with the ultimate intelligence of the divine. So they're not stuck. They're not told, oh no, you can only be XYZ because you happen to be a particular gender, or you live in whatever year. You're in 1832 and you're a woman, and therefore that means you cannot do this and you must do this, right? Like if we always had Saturn energy holding us in a particular form, it would be really counterproductive to life. Does that make sense? So the Uranian energy holds us, the Aquarian energy also holds us to be coming into the ultimate divine blueprint in every single moment, which means that, again, even if we are coming into our ultimate divine blueprint, that doesn't necessarily mean we are coming into a single form that's going to always stay that way, because the ultimate divine blueprint, again, needs the opportunity and the holding to be whatever it needs to be in any given moment. I hope this is making sense. Okay. So that's what I'm meaning when I'm talking about the ultimate divine blueprint, and the coming months and years. We're really, really, really being supported both to be letting go of those old structures, basically letting the Saturnian energy have space to be in concert with the Uranian energy, right? Like they're going to work together. They're not opposed to each other. It's not that we're getting rid of Saturn, we're getting rid of a Capricorn. That would not be fun. We don't want to get rid of them. We want to give them the space to be in service of holding the structures that are in service of the ultimate truth, the ultimate divine blueprint of who we are, what we are in every single given moment. It's kind of like Uranian energy can be like the architect, divine architect in a sense. And then the Saturnian energy is like this is oversimplified analogy here, but think of it like this, maybe, it's just dawning on me right now. The Uranian Aquarian energy can be kind of like the energy of the architect coming up with that ultimate divine blueprint. And then the Saturnian energy can be in service of that divine blueprint to be building what the architect is envisioning, right? They're in concert together. If we only had Uranian energy, we wouldn't have a building. If we only had Saturnian energy, we would have a very stuck and stagnant reality that never changes and that feels really suffocating. So, yeah, I hope that's clear. So, okay, so that's the ultimate divine blueprint, and just in general. So again, that's we're being held in that, number one, to be coming into that in our own energy body, in our own being, in our own lives. And if you are wanting to do that in a really held container that's very grounded and that is held over the course of the whole 12 months of 2024, please join the Ultimate Divine Blueprint series that I'm going to be holding starting on January 19th. I would love to have you as part of that if it calls to you. And then this is the second part that is just so fascinating and so interesting and relates to the astrology course, which is the second main thing I'm holding in 2024. But this is really fascinating topic for me, even if you're not interested in the astrology course. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. So the other thing that's dawning on me that suddenly seemed so obvious the other day was that, of course, as we are being held to be letting go of the old structures of our own being, coming into the ultimate divine blueprint of our energy, body, structure, being, and the ultimate divine blueprint of our lives. Well, of course, just like with any other changes in ourselves, we start to see the world really differently. And everything begins to change in our lives. You probably experienced that many, many, many times. I know I have in my own life. So among a bazillion other things that begin to then shift is, of course, our perception. What the spirit world is making extra clear to me is that in this year and moving forward, there is our conception of the whole body of astrology also has its ultimate divine blueprint. And I don't mean that in the sense of there's only one right divinely guided way to do astrology. That's not what I mean. I would actually feel really uncomfortable with anybody saying that, including myself. I'm not saying that. What I mean by that really actually is, again, very related, so related to the astrology course that I'm going to be teaching this year, starting on February 1st, 2024. It's that as we come into our own, the energy, the ultimate divine blueprint of our own energy being, we then, it's like, I'm so excited about this. We then each individually and as a collective, as a group, we then are able to hold space for everything in our lives, people, beings, the earth, all of it, and astrology itself. We're able to hold space, kind of like Uranus and Saturn combined. We're able to hold space for everything, again, including astrology, to birth itself through us, through our conception of it, in that when we come into our own ultimate divine blueprint, we're holding ourselves in a way that then can hold everything else to be its ultimate divine blueprint as well, and for us to perceive it in perhaps new ways, perhaps old ways, perhaps whatever it is that it's wanting and needing to be through us, for us. And that could be very individual also. So it's a funny, tricky balance of when I think of astrology birthing itself to come into its own ultimate divine blueprint, I feel a need to do many things all at the same time. Number one is to learn about and honor past, ancient, and current ways of doing astrology, being with the cosmos and the meaning of the cosmos. Absolutely. I'm not, so again, that's not throwing Saturn out with the bathwater, right? Like that's honoring what has come before, just like anything else. And at the same time, holding it, that Uranian, Aquarian kind of freedom to be in alignment with its own ultimate divine truth, giving space to our own experience of astrology and our own knowing, our own inner wisdom of what astrology is and what the cosmos is saying with us and through us, for it to be what it happens to be in any given moment, which may or may not be in, seeming to follow what tradition would tell us. So, and then at the same time, just like, we don't want to go all the way and only have Uranus, we don't want to go all the way and only have Saturn. Similarly, I would say I hear from a lot of people that super beautiful that, astrology is just coming to them and just waking up in them. And I think that's amazing. And what I get nervous about with that is that that there isn't that Saturnian foundational learning happening at the same time. So, and I think for every person, there's a different balance that's needed. But when I feel that somebody is really, really Uranian in their way of learning, which again is honestly really fun to me. I love having conversations with people like that because I'm actually a very Uranian person, and I, things just come to me too, and I learn things often really quickly in that kind of a way. And so it's fun for me to engage with somebody who happens to be like that. And at the same time, what I often find myself needing to say is that's great and that's so fun and that's so amazing, right? And don't forget to do the Saturn part at the same. Don't forget to make sure that you've really honored the filled in the blanks so that you're not just doing Uranus. So that there's a good balance. But again, that's such a personal balance. That's so specific to each and every individual, and I cannot judge what is right for you or another person. I can only feel what's right for me. In my own natal chart, actually, Uranus and Saturn precisely almost to the minute square each other, and so I would say I'm more of a Uranian energy than a Saturn energy in general. My Saturn is in my 11th house, so I'm, even my Saturn is pretty Uranian. But I do have a really strong dance between Uranus and Saturn. I feel like in me, they work together pretty amazingly well. And I love the two of them working together. So, it's, again, I like structure. I like learning the basics. I like really filling in the gaps and learning the history of things. I love that. That's very Saturnian. And then at the same time, I need to do it my own way. That's just the truth. It's just how I am. It's just, can't deny it. Oh, and then also my Mars happens to be in Aquarius, opposite my Saturn. And squaring my Uranus. Yeah, I'm a very Uranian Aquarian type person, and Piscean and Virgo. Anyway, I'm a lot of things, but we're all everything. But if I had to say, am I more Uranian or more Saturnian? I'm definitely a little more Uranian. But the Saturn is really important and really wonderful and beautiful and needed too. Okay. I think I'm making that point clear. Yeah. So that's a whole gigantic topic, just this idea of astrology coming into its own divine blueprint. And that's something I'm going to be exploring through this whole coming year, starting on February 1st, 2024, and then going through to the end of February 2025. So it's actually, I'm going to be holding this Infinite Soul Wisdom Astrology 101 course. It's actually going to be a 13-month course. And technically, the opening ceremony starts on February 1st, 2024, but actually I'm having a preliminary workshop on January 25th, which happens to be, again, I didn't know this when I planned it, happens to be the full moon in Leo. So it'll be the middle of this new moon in Capricorn lunar cycle. And yeah, so I'm putting the links to all of these things in with this video. If you're interested in the astrology course, I'll tell you a little more right now. And then I've made other videos diving fully into it. I'm also, if you are interested in the astrology course and would like to speak to me directly, I'm definitely happy to meet with you for 20 or 30 minutes for free to see if it feels like the right match for you. You can just email me at livingtheonelight@gmail.com, and I'm happy to set up a time to do that. Because I do want it to feel like the right match, both for you and for me, and but especially for you, of course. And yeah, anyway, don't hesitate. I'm happy to talk to you if you're not sure. But just to tell you a little more about the astrology course. So there's so many angles to this. And again, I've explained it in other videos. But one angle that I don't know if I've really focused on is the reality that in this astrology course, which again it's perfect for you if you're a total beginner, and it's perfect for you if you are a full-fledged astrologer. I'm really holding space for this to be a portal of remembering is what the spirit world is calling it, for astrology to be rebirthing itself through the divine intelligence of each of us and all of us together. And so what this one component that I haven't really focused on, I think, in previous videos when I talk about this course, is that we're starting in February of this year, just a few weeks, and that month we're going to be doing some preliminary things just to kind of get our grounding. But starting in March of this year, every month for 12 months, we will be diving deeply into one zodiac sign per month. And we will be diving not only into the zodiac sign. So, for example, in March, we'll be focused on Pisces, because we'll be doing whatever zodiac sign the new moon happens to be in that month. So in the month of March, there's a new moon in Pisces. And I'm deliberately starting with Pisces because, to me, it's really important that before we go to Aries, we remember that Aries comes out of Pisces. So I'm starting with Pisces, and I'm ending in February of 2024 with Aquarius. So, but we'll go month by month, diving deeply into, for example, in March, Pisces. But then also in March, not only we will do Pisces, but we're also going to focus on whatever planet or planets are associated with that zodiac sign. So for Pisces, we will also get to know Jupiter and Neptune. And when we do the planets, another cool thing, which I don't think I've focused on in when I've talked about it before, is we're going to also do their moons. So so I'm going to be learning a lot. I mean, I know a fair amount, a good enough amount, about evolutionary astrology in particular to certainly feel very confident teaching this, but I'm teaching this in a way that I was not taught. So I'm going to be, and I'm actually teaching it in a way that I don't know of anybody who teaches it in this way. So we're going to be doing some things that I haven't been taught. So I'm going to be teaching myself in order to teach it. And we'll be learning together is really what it comes down to. So for one of the examples of that is we're going to be learning about the moons of the planets, the ones who happen to have moons. And, Jupiter, for example, has fascinating moons. I mean, just wow. And as one of you pointed out to me, which I hadn't even realized, when I hadn't really even thought of, is that bringing in the moons, it's like bringing in the divine feminine aspect of our relationship to the planets, which I think is it like I feel it in my body. Like I almost want to cry, because it's like it's bringing in some forgotten parts of ourselves and some forgotten parts of life. Yeah, so I'll be diving into, clearly the archetypes of these things, but also the astronomy. The astronomy of astrology to me is really, really, really important. And not so much in the way that, for example, Gemini Brett, I mean, I love Gemini, love him. He's so awesome, such a dear, beautiful human. And I love his approach to the astronomy of astrology. My way of doing this is going to be not so not so Gemini. I'm not very Gemini. I'm going to be doing it more probably of a Jupiterian way. So yeah, because I'm much more Jupiterian and Sagittarian than I am Gemini. or mercurial. So, and actually my Mercury is in Pisces. Anyway, yeah, I'm not Gemini Brett. I'm me. So yeah, so I'm going to be in every component of what we do, I'm going to be really diving into the science of what we're studying. So for example, something I'm so excited about is when we are in our month on Leo, the planet that goes with Leo is the sun. And one of the things I am really excited to be diving into in terms of the science related to the sun and the astronomy related to the sun is to learn about the actual physiology of the sun, like the sunspots and the M-class flares and the X-class flares, and what does all that mean, and what does that have to do with our relationship to the sun? It's not just this circle. Like in astrology, we think of the sun as a circle and a dot in the middle. That's how it's depicted. And we look at a two-dimensional chart and we see a circle and a dot, and that depicts the sun. Okay, that's something, right? But the sun is a massive living being. Is like literally has a life of its own, literally, right? So and it has an 11,000 year cycle, which I'm so fascinated to learn more about and then to explore with you, because the 11,000 year cycle, interestingly, coincides with close-ish to half of a precessional cycle, and actually also is very interestingly about the length of the orbit of Sedna. Okay, so I'm going off in tangents now, but I'm just giving you one example of, I'm so excited, so excited. Can you tell I'm so excited to really dive into and feel into the life of these beings. So like the life of the sun. What the sun has its own life cycle. It has its own orbit. It has its own way of being as a physiological being, right? And we are in physiological, literal relationship with it when we're here as beings of Earth. And we're beings of the solar system. So we're actually beings of the sun, in a sense. We're certainly beings of its system. What does that mean? And then the sun has its relationship to our entire galaxy. What does that mean? Right? You kind of get my idea. So with each of these planets, it's not just going to be, well, in evolutionary astrology, the sun means XYZ. I will teach that, but it's also going to be a really pretty big deep dive into the astronomy, the physiology, the physical science of those planets. And then what does that mean? What does that feel like when we really sit with the realities of these beings who are our friends, our, sisters, brothers, whatever it feels like for you. Yeah, so we'll be doing the zodiac sign of each month, the planet or planets that go with that zodiac sign, and another component, the fourth component of each month will then be the constellation that the sun happens to be in that month. So for example, in March, we'll be focused on the zodiac sign of Pisces, because the new moon will be in the sign of Pisces in March. But at the same time that the sun is in the zodiac sign of Pisces, anyway, it's not black and white this way, but basically the sun also is in the constellation because of the precessional cycle. If this is confusing, don't worry. I'll explain it to you if you're part of the course. But because of the way that our relationship to the constellations changes over time, right now the sun, if it's in the zodiac sign of Pisces, typically-ish is in the constellation. If you look up in the sky, it's in the constellation of the water bearer or Aquarius. Okay, if that gets confusing, don't worry about it. Bottom line, we're going to do the zodiac sign and the constellation each month. And we're going to combine the two and feel into, okay, if the sun is in the sign of Pisces, but in the constellation of the water bearer or Aquarius, what does that feel like when we combine the sign of Pisces and the constellation of the water bearer? And at the same time, we're also exploring Jupiter with its moons and Neptune and all of what I just talked about, right? And actually the fifth component, there's so much. The fifth component is that every month, so most of every month's time will be with me. I'd say 3/4 of it is with me. But once a month, also starting in March, from March 2024 to February 2025, so for 12 months, we also have the huge treat of a monthly mythology fireside chat with Chris Skidmore. So every month, again, we're going to be focused on a particular zodiac sign, the planet or planets that go with that, the constellation that goes with that. And Chris will then focus on the mythology associated with what we happen to be diving into that month. Because I am not an expert on mythology, and that, Chris has a beautiful relationship to it. If you haven't seen the videos that I have, the interviews I've done with him, there are several of them now on my YouTube channel. And in December, we did a conversation where we talked about his relationship to the Greek and Roman mythology. And it's a really, really beautiful conversation. I highly recommend that. Yeah, so that's going to be every month. And every month, then, so the way it's going to be structured basically is in the first week of the month, I will do, all of this will be recorded. I will do a workshop where I'm going to dive into more of the cognitive knowing of all of these things. I'll probably need to do also like a video ahead of time, because there's going to be so much I'm going to dive into every month. Then Chris will, once a month, will then do the mythology part. Then I will hold, in week 2, I will hold, sorry, and the workshop and Chris's part are separate. They're 2 different times. I'll be at everything, but it's going to be 2 different meetings, if that makes sense. Then I will, in week 2, hold our monthly time where I'm going to channel a guided experience for you to come into your own relationship with the constellation, the zodiac sign, and the planet or planets we're focused on that month. Then in week 3, we're going to have small group sharing circles for you to share what has come alive for you in our deep dive into whatever we're focused on that month. And then week 4, we will close out every month with a live and recorded Q&A session with me. And in addition, and you can see more about this at the link, for the course itself. In addition, also, the course is going to have an opening ceremony, a closing ceremony, and a ceremony at each of the solstices and equinoxes in that year. Because on the ultimate level, this course is held by the spirit world to be a portal of remembering, as I've talked about in lots of other videos. And so it's really so much about you being held to come into your own being that is a deep, ancient wisdom keeper. And so this is where that ultimate divine blueprint of you then is holding space for the ultimate divine blueprint of astrology and of life and of healing to be coming through, to be moving through you in whatever way is just right for you. And that's something, that could be very, very personal, and that maybe you don't want to share in the community of the course, or maybe it's something that is alive and you really want to share in the sharing circles or in the sharing forum in the course. Whatever feels right for you is perfect. And then the final thing is that there will be, in addition to Chris, who's going to do the monthly mythology series with the course, there's also going to be 3 other guest speakers who are going to do one-time talks, free. There'll be talks that are included for everybody for free who's doing the course. And those speakers are Heather Ensworth, Kelley Hunter, and Julia Balaz. And yeah, anyway, so much there. I'm so super, 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 super excited in case you can't tell. And again, that officially begins, our opening ceremony is going to be on February 1st, 2024, but a week before February 1st, on January 25th, there's going to be a preliminary workshop that's free if you're signed up for the course, that is going to be called The Anatomy and Soul of the Cosmos. And I'll talk more about that probably in the next video that I do on the full moon. Yes, on the full moon. I'll do a full moon video for you in the next few days or early next week, and I'll talk more about that workshop if you're interested in that workshop. But the workshop is included with the course. So if you're interested in the course, the first time we'll be gathering actually is January 25th, and then we'll officially do the opening ceremony February 1st. And like I said, everything in the course is going to be recorded. Everything in the Divine Blueprint is going to be recorded. The exception will be in the sharing circles. Anybody who does not want to be recorded, I will not be recording that portion of the sharing circles. And if people choose to not be recorded in the sharing circles, I just won't record them. But everything else will be recorded and will be available indefinitely in the course website. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. That was a lot. And I hope you're doing well. I see so much potential in this year coming ahead. And oh, the last thing it's really, really super important to say is that I'm feeling more and more like, okay, so the 2 main things I'm holding this year are the Ultimate Divine Blueprint year-long series, and then the astrology course. And I can feel really strongly how for some people you're going to be called to do one or the other and not both. And I completely honor that. And for some people, you're not going to be called to do either one. Totally honor that too. I am feeling, though, for any of you who feel called to do both, that the two are going to complement each other so powerfully. I think that's going to, for a lot, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, that's going to be the ultimate, ultimate, ultimate way to be coming into all of this together. So for people who are doing the astrology course, the Ultimate Divine Blueprint series has a 25% discount. Actually, so if you're part of the astrology course, you get a 25% discount on pretty much anything. Anything. Trying to think of anything that there's an exception. Pretty much anything you want on my Teachable site, I would give you at a 25% discount, actually, if I think about it now. That is true. Yeah. The one exception is that for individual sessions, if you're part of this course, you get a 20% discount. And if you're part of the Ultimate Divine Blueprint series, I also give a 20% discount on personal sessions. Yeah. So yeah, but if you're feeling called to do both, I do give a 25% discount to people in the course, the astrology course for the Ultimate Divine Blueprint series, to try to make it more accessible. And both the Divine Blueprint series and the course have a sliding scale payment option. So if that's something you're really needing, that is available, and you can choose that option. If you're able to pay the regular amount, that supports me more fully to bring all of what I'm bringing to you. But if you need the discount, it is absolutely available. So please choose that option. Okay. I think that's everything for now. Once again, if you have any questions, please be in touch, livingtheonelight@gmail.com. If you're interested in the astrology course and you want to talk about it with me to see if it's a good match for you, absolutely reach out and I can schedule a time to talk with you. I would love to do that. Again, livingtheonelight@gmail.com. You can find links to everything at my website at livingtheonelight.com, but I'll also put all the links, direct links here in the video. Yeah, and I would love to hear your thoughts on anything I just said. So please feel free. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, I would love for you to subscribe. If you enjoy this video, I'd love for you to click like. That is really supportive of me. And yeah, wonderful. I will see you all soon. Happy 2024.